Coming up, Orlando's Brightline train station connecting Miami to the Orlando International Airport has just been unveiled. Disney reveals the next subject of the resort lodging modernizations, announcing the removal of the existing cabins at Fort Wilderness. Disney's Animal Kingdom celebrates its 25th anniversary, and annual pass sales finally resume at Walt Disney World, and they may not stay open for long. All that and more on the way. This is Mickey Views News.
All who come to this happy place, welcome.
Now I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me.
Before we get into today's news, we have a late-breaking story. I regret to inform you that last night out at Disneyland, their incredible Maleficent Dragon animatronic special effect, it caught fire during a performance of Fantasmic. The fire spread to cover the entire set piece and burned the current dragon. It looks like beyond repair. It burned it to the ground. As you can see here, the fire covered the entire thing, engulfed the whole dragon. If you recall, we had a similar incident back in 2018 out here at Walt Disney World with the Maleficent Dragon Parade float as part of the Festival of Fantasy Parade, although in that instance it was only the head of the float that had any significant damage that needed to be addressed. Here, unfortunately, it looks like the entire thing was burned to smithereens, likely the result of residual flammable materials that had built up over time, all catching fire at once when the fire effect began. Hopefully Disney can get this dragon rebuilt because it's a really cool effect. Very unfortunate that this happened. Without further ado, let's get into today's news. First up in the news today, over at the Orlando International Airport, we have a very exciting story as the Brightline station housed inside the train station, which is located next to the new C terminal at the airport. It was just unveiled, and to say this will be a game changer is definitely an understatement. Through this station, you'll soon have trains heading hourly from Orlando to West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami beginning at 5 a.m., as well as going the other way, so Southeast Floridians will be able to head right up to Orlando on these high-tech, modern, high-speed trains. Orlando service will begin later this year on the new line, which we have covered the development of for the last few years, and in the future, this Brightline system will cross through the city of Orlando and on to Tampa, and we'll have a whole video coming up soon where I'll take you through the latest I've been hearing as far as all that's concerned. It's pretty complicated stuff, needless to say, so we'll get into the Phase 3 expansion through Orlando in an upcoming video, the latest on that, so make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Today we're taking a look at the new station at the Orlando International Airport, which will connect to Miami. Since Brightline began track work in the area, the entrance to the station was blocked off. The inside was an empty husk, but over the past many months, Brightline has been hard at work getting the inside all fancied up. Entering the brand new station here, you can see there is a bag check-in area. That's also where you'll pick up bags on your way out, and there's also an area for tickets. Then you go past where you scan your tickets and you have security, all that stuff, and then you have a marketplace area where they have snacks and gifts. They actually have little miniatures of the trains. I'm definitely going to end up picking one of those up. And there's also a bar there called Mary Mary, which is a reference to Henry Flagler, who we have to thank for creating Palm Beach and Miami as we know them today. He developed the Florida East Coast Railway, which in turn made the development of Florida's Atlantic coast possible. Brightline, a century later, is becoming America's first privately funded high-speed rail provider, running on the Florida East Coast Railway tracks, which were originally done by Henry Flagler. Over the course of his life, Flagler had two wives named Mary, hence the Mary Mary Bar. Also in this station, you have a general seating area, there's a meeting room that you can reserve, and there's the premium lounge for guests paying for the premium experience, the premium cabin on the train. So that's the station Brightline just unveiled. Down below, of course, you have the platform itself, which is insanely long because these Brightline trains, they can stack up those cabins and make super long trains. If they have a lot of demand, they can extend them to have very high capacity. Last month, while this station was still under construction, I was able to visit it. I wasn't able to film the inside or anything like that because they were still doing all sorts of construction and stuff, but I was able to get some footage of the outside area as well as over at Brightline's vehicle maintenance facility, and I got to poke around and see the very, very expensive Siemens engine that runs this whole thing. It's very green. It's one of the most efficient engines out there, you know, the highest EPA rating and all that great stuff. So it's really, really cool what Brightline's doing here. We're going to have more on the Orlando route, how that looks, how realistic that is, how it works with the pricing, and more importantly, what the future of the Brightline route is as they are trying to get over to Tampa. So all that coming soon. Stay tuned for that. Next up in the news today, we have the latest de-theming from Disney. If you are not aware, Disney's been going through many of their existing resort properties at Walt Disney World and modernizing the offerings, which in many cases means just taking the personality out of them, which they see as tacky. I'll have you know, a lot of this is not Imagineering. Some of the folks in charge here, they're not Imagineers. Chapek basically made this whole separate thing, this whole separate hotel team that has been led by outside hires from Las Vegas, who clearly do not have the greatest understanding of the product, as we've seen with the recent de-theming of bars and lounges across the resorts, restaurants, rooms themselves in some cases, lobbies, all that sort of stuff. And here's the thing, it's not like in all cases these newer additions are terrible or anything in the broader context of vacation offerings in general. The issue is that these are highly themed environments that were distinctly Disney and were very, very special, and they're moving towards this same very generic modern look you find tons of outside of Disney. So to me, it just seems like one less reason to stay at these properties. You might as well just stay off property, pay a lot less money. Really, the only thing selling these in the future is going to be location, the way that they're going, where they keep making these resorts more and more generic. But here's the thing, we know Disney is trying to attract a new audience. They're not trying to attract us. They're not trying to appeal to the current fans that like the current theming. They're getting rid of that theming. They don't care about us. What they're trying to do is they're trying to attract people who want a luxury room, whatever that means. So you're seeing them replace a lot of regular rooms with something that they're calling luxury, that looks very sparse and bland and modern. And Disney hopes that this will allow them to charge much more and get greater booking volume, a lot of that from high spending first time guests who don't know what they're getting themselves into, who end up spending more than they need to. Disney has just announced that they are replacing all of the existing cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground, which have an authentic log cabin type of theme currently. Those will all be removed and replaced with these much more modern 350 of these new cabins, which feature this modern look. The way I describe these is it kind of looks like I built an Airbnb out of a storage container, that sort of vibe, like something you'd see like a vlogger do as a project here on YouTube or something like that. They do have that look to them. I'm making thousands of dollars a month with these Airbnbs I built in my backyard. That's sort of what it looks like. In all seriousness though, these don't look bad by any means. I'm sure many would agree that they have a more premium look than the current log cabins, a more modern look. You have the fancy roof with the windows that are high up and all of that. I'm sure that these will be popular, but does it feel like Fort Wilderness to you? When I think of Fort Wilderness, I think of that log cabin theme. I think of pine trees. I think of sort of the Appalachia sort of aesthetic, which also extends down to Florida. We have a lot of the same sort of trees down here that you have further up along the East Coast. And now it seems like we're moving to more of a West Coast modern Airbnb type of look here. As far as the size of these new cabins, Disney says that they will have the same footprint as the ones they're demolishing, but these will be more energy efficient and have Disney storytelling touches. So characters on different things around the room, that's what I would expect there. That's what Disney thinks Disney is now. You just put little intellectual property stickers all over the place. That's what makes something Disney. No, Disney used to be the whole experience. It used to be the theme. It used to be immersing you in real life places that actually exist elsewhere, but they're all together on property, and they're really getting rid of that, clearly. I just did a live stream where I went over to the Yacht Club lobby and they've put in this Art Deco Wayfair looking furniture inside the Yacht Club, which is obviously period specific and has a certain aesthetic to it, and you can just tell it doesn't fit. You know, it just doesn't mesh with everything else. It really just seems like they don't care, quite frankly. These proposed cabins are DVC properties. They're part of the Disney Vacation Club, so just a heads up there on that. Let me know what you guys think of these new additions that Disney's doing. I'm by no means a hater of these additions to the Fort Wilderness. As far as the style goes, I think they're fine if you just look at it, you know, in a vacuum, but in the context of being part of Fort Wilderness and what they're replacing, which seems much more accurate to the theme of the resort, I really don't like how generic these new ones are, and they really don't seem to jive with the theme of the resort a whole lot. But I sort of see them as a much more attainable, much more affordable version of the Copper Creek cabins. So if you look at it that way, maybe these will be something worth at least trying, at least checking out. Let me know your thoughts. Also today over at Disney's Animal Kingdom, the park celebrated its 25th anniversary. They had a ceremony in the morning with all the various performers and cast members that you have around the park, all sort of convening at the front and doing a little show. There's all sorts of 25th anniversary merch. The big aspect of this 25th anniversary is Disney is dropping the Moana meet and greet. So now Moana is meeting guests on Discovery Island. That has now begun. That's sort of the big component of this, the newsworthy component of it, because people want to meet Moana, and now you can at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now there's also Moana music playing over the loudspeakers in Disney's Animal Kingdom, which should also be noted. What Moana has to do with the theme of the Animal Kingdom, nobody could tell you because she doesn't, but Disney wants to have Moana everywhere, it seems. We have the Journey of Water coming to Epcot later this year. We also have Moana over here at the Animal Kingdom. I'm sure Disney will get Moana into every park because I think Disney thinks that's a way to get more people into the parks. Happy 25th to Disney's Animal Kingdom. Last up in the news today, on the morning of April 20th, as many folks were watching live streams of SpaceX's Starship rocket blast off with its super heavy booster for the first time, in another tab, they were waiting in the queue to grab Walt Disney World annual passes, most tiers of which have been unavailable for sale for the past year. Because of the long period of no annual pass availability here at Walt Disney World, with the exception of the lowest Pixie Dust Pass, Disney experienced very high demand, especially from locals, the morning of April 20th, all hopping on, trying to finally grab those Sorcerer passes, those Incredi passes, all of those past tiers you have, which have not been for sale for quite a long time. And Disney has been making it clear that one or more of these past tiers is likely to sell out imminently, so it looks like these might not be for sale for long. As I told you guys when this reopening of sales was announced, I doubt we're going back to business as usual, like we saw before 2020, where you could buy any pass you wanted, whenever you wanted. And what I really think this is Disney's refilling the hoppers, since over the past year of no sales for many of these ticket types, naturally they've had many cancellations. Also, they're likely able to allocate more slots to AP holders, accommodate more AP holders now that all the capacity concerns they had in 2020 and 2021 are past, and they can more readily afford to have these lower per day spend ticket types taking up space at the parks. Many of our viewers were able to secure annual passes over the past few days, despite the technical difficulties and many hours of waiting. Disney did a good job of keeping things nice and orderly with all of this. So needless to say, if you're in the market for an annual pass, they are a steal. There's a reason that they sell out. They are quite cheap for those who go a lot. They look like a big price. You know, the Incredi Pass is over $1,000. That sounds crazy. Well, if you're a Florida resident, then there's the Florida resident discount, and then you can pay monthly, and then it's really not bad at all. And then if you're going to the parks a lot and you divide it up, if I divide mine up, I think with the annual price that I pay, all my visits throughout the year, I think it costs me less than $10 a visit to go to Walt Disney World, to go to a Disney World park, which is an insane discount versus if I was paying for day tickets, where that same visit would cost me at least 12 times as much. It would definitely end up costing me a fortune if I went that much and I was paying for day tickets. So if you haven't already grabbed an annual pass and want to, don't delay, because they'll start selling out here, I am sure. That's the latest in the world of Disney today. Be sure to subscribe with those notifications on to stay up with the latest happening with Disney, Reedy Creek, as well as Brightline. We have some very cool stuff coming up here quite soon. Also, on an unrelated note, I'm also working on upgrading my live streaming setup a bit so we can do more streams here on the channel in the parks, sort of just doing general commentary, interacting with the chat, sort of as a complement to these news reports, where I can speak a little bit more at length and things like that. Also, we're about a month out from having the merch store up, so stay tuned for that as well. Lots of great stuff on the way. Thanks so much to everyone who supports the channel, our patrons, those of you who watch the videos, everyone, it really does mean a lot. I'll talk to you soon from the Mickey D's Magic Studio. Thank you so much for watching. This is Braden. Have a magical day.